what's going on, guys? It's Modern, and today we've got another episode of Road to the Top. But before I start playing, I've just got a short, quick little update to tell you guys about, just in case if you haven't heard. So, regional championships, those have been going on for the past couple weeks for the spring regional championships. I went to Seattle and Utah. At Seattle, I needed to get a top 16 finish or better to guarantee my Worlds invite. And then at Utah, I actually found out after I got top 16 at Seattle that if I could get a top 8 finish, then I could also be in range of travel awards or stipends for nationals. And if you guys are wondering, that just means that you get the trip for free. So, I ended up getting top 8 at Utah too. So, I'm at 400 CP. I'm rank 45 now, I think. So, assuming that the travel stipends are for the top 64 players, I am in range of that, so I am 100% going to Nationals now. It's pretty good getting, obviously, the free trip, the free hotel. I'm going to take it, and yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, we're just going to get straight into the game now. Not going to delay it any further. And again, we're still using the same Yveltal Groudon team I've been using for the past however long. If you guys are wondering, I did end up using this, pretty much the exact same team for both Seattle and Utah regionals. I've been trying out a couple of different things, though, for each of those competitions. For instance, I tried out Swagger on Thundurus for Seattle, and then I also tried out Taunt on Thundurus for Utah, as well as Eruption on Groudon, and then also Protect Kangaskhan. And all of those ended up being really, really good. I really liked them. And yeah, it ended up being pretty good. All of those decisions paid off a lot. The only thing that I ended up changing after that was I have Rock Slide again on Groudon. First opponent of the day is going to be Layin. I didn't get a chance to see their rating. And they're using a dual primal team with the Gengar Whimsicott combo, so obviously a very irritating combo to deal with. But Yveltal makes this matchup pretty nice. The real question is, what do I want to lead off against my opponent? Because if they have Encore Disable shenanigans, then that could be pretty difficult to deal with. I think straight off the bat, I might just lead Salamence and Yveltal, or Kangaskhan Yveltal. I don't feel that Thundurus is a very good lead right here, just because if they lead Kangaskhan, they can have Fake Out. Whimsicott could have maybe Safeguard or Encore or Taunt of their own. And then it's like Thunderbolt's not really doing anything to Groudon or Whimsicott either. And then, I think I said Talonflame could have Quick Guard. And I think we're going to go Mence Yveltal and then Groudon Cress in the back. The reason I'm leading Salamence is because it intimidates a potential Kangaskhan lead, and in the case that they lead something like Gengar Whimsicott, or maybe just some other combination with Gengar, it could be a telltale sign that they have, like, Hidden Power Ice or something, if they're, like, afraid of the Salamence or whatever, so I can just switch out. But it's mostly so I can intimidate Kangaskhan and also have a good way to damage Whimsicott. So I do lead Salamence Yveltal, Groudon, and Cresselia in the back, and then my opponent's going to lead Kangaskhan Groudon. So Salamence was definitely a very good choice for my lead here. I'm definitely in a really good position now. I'm not going to go for any advanced predictions. There's really no reason to. And I think what I can go for here is just a Hyper Voice and a Snarl. Hyper Voice just because it's spread damage, and it's going to do more damage than Double Edge to... Well, it won't do more damage than Double Edge, but Hyper Voice just doesn't have any recoil, and that's obviously a lot better. And then Snarl, just in case if there's Special Groudon. Because let's say they have Eruption, that would otherwise do a lot of damage, and then if they're Hidden Power Ice, it actually prevents it from KOing Salamence, so that's pretty important. And I assume they're just going to fake out Salamence. There's no reason not to on their side. If they fake out Yveltal, I think it's a really big misplay. But yeah, I think they're just going to fake out Salamence, and then... Oh wow, they didn't fake out, so this is actually really good. Okay, they're really bulky on both of those Mons, but This combination of Hyper Voice and Snarl is easily going to bring them down to both about 25% HP. Let's see, the Kangaskhan's probably going for an Ice Punch. Okay. That's not going to KO Salamence without a critical hit, and you can definitely see how they are bulkier for Kangaskhan because that didn't knock out. And they actually go for Fire Punch now onto Yveltal. They do get a critical hit, though, which is pretty unfortunate, but the damage that they've taken so far is already putting this match heavily in my favor, because now they're pretty much forced to go for the Sucker Punch, and then I can just freely bring in Cresselia. So yeah, it sort of makes sense why my opponent didn't protect or fake out or anything with their Kangaskhan that turn, just because Ice Punch does a lot of damage to Salamence, but I still think it would have been better if they would have just doubled up into one of my Pokemon instead of sort of spreading it out, because Fire Punch would have only done about 50% to Yveltal, and then they would still be forced to go for a Sucker Punch, but I could easily just go for a Snarl and get a double knockout. But now I'm in a really good position. I can just go for a Hyper Voice and a Trick Room. There's really nothing my opponent can do to punish me with this play, except maybe if they have Whimsicott in the back. And I guess also if they have enough HP left on Groudon to go for a substitute. But in almost every other situation, I'm in a good position. Wow, and they get a second crit in a row! Bunch of bull right there, but it happens. It's Pokemon, and I'm still in a super heavy winning position now because I can just go for a Precipice Blades and a Gravity, and there's nothing they can do about it. Yeah, and I think I'm going to go for the Gravity play because, like, I could skill swap myself, but the issue is that if I miss Precipice Blades, then I could be in a really bad position. Yeah, and they had Gengar too, so I don't think they would be a min speed Groudon. So that's what the hope is I'm just trying to play for 100% win condition, sort of. Their Groudon does go for Protect, so I assume they're just Sucker Punching my Groudon or something. Oh, and they actually Sucker Punch into Cresselia, predicting me to go for an Ice Beam of sorts, I guess. But I'm going to knock out the Kangaskhan right here, and I assume they're just going to bring one of their, probably Kyogre, I'd imagine. I mean, they're going to lose Groudon next turn unless they're a minimum speed Groudon, but maybe if there's something like Whimsicott and they have Encore, they could put me in a really bad position. But yeah, they just bring out Kyogre, and now I'm in a position where I can just skill swap myself and go for a Precipice Blades. And it's still the same exact position now, because if they have Encore, I'll just be locked into skill swap, and yeah, it's the same exact position. If they're not minimum speed Groudon, they lose here. Alright, so Cresselia, obviously slower than both of these Mons. No min speed Groudon, please? Don't be that guy. Okay. Precipice Blades is going to connect to both of these Pokemon, obviously because the Gravity is set up, and Precipice Blades actually does about 50% to Kyogre, so I should be in position just to go for a Ice Beam and whatever next turn. They actually go, oh my gosh, I just realized if they have Whimsicott, they can still win, because they can have Worry Seed. But they have Talonflame, so never mind. So yeah, this game's pretty much locked up now. Same deal, I can just go for a Precipice Blades and an Ice Beam into the Kyogre. Ice Beam is just a guarantee, just in case if, for whatever reason, they don't KO Cresselia right here or forfeit. It should knock Kyogre into a range where Precipice Blades 100% KOs it. And even if it doesn't, oh wow, I just realized I sort of misplayed here now. Because if they're a min-speed Kyogre, or if they survive, then they can also win. Oh, but my opponent misplays. They should have attacked into Cresselia. That was a really bad play. Because if they KO'd Cresselia, then they would get rid of my weather. Precipice Blades probably would have knocked out anyways, but... Okay, that was actually a pretty big misplay by my opponent, but... I'm not going to complain. My opponent got two really, really, really important critical hits. The first one meant that I was losing my Veltol on the first turn, and then the second one meant that my Cresselia was in Brave Bird range anyways, so maybe my opponent just didn't recognize the win condition of KOing Cresselia, or maybe they didn't think it would pick up the knockout. But regardless, it was still a solid first match. I made a really good lead choice and it ended up paying off hugely. My opponent leading with two physical attackers. It is unfortunate, however, that my opponent got the critical hit because I still would have been in a fantastic position on the first turn. But regardless, like I said, we won the match, and Trick Room was able to finish up the match for us. So that right there, just in my opinion, that just sort of shows why Trick Room is such a threatening mode. A lot of teams are opting not to run Trick Room Groudon for some reason. Most people are actually starting to run the Poke Alex set, which won the UK Nationals. And I believe it's Icy Wind, Thunder Wave, Gravity, and Skill Swap that they had on their team. But, yeah, I mean, I still think the Trick Room mode's better. But I guess Icy Wind's pretty good. It punishes people. It's just a lot weaker to opposing Trick Room, though. And this is actually going to be a pretty interesting match. My opponent's running something similar to, I believe it was Enosh that was running a Rayquaza Groudon team and actually got second place at a regional. Don't remember the specific regional, though, but I'm going to just go ahead and assume that this Rayquaza has Waterfall or something. I'm 99.999% just leading Kangaskhan and Yveltal, I think. Actually. I might go Salamence Yveltal, actually. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for that. It seems a little weird leading Salamence against a team with Rayquaza, Weavile, and Cresselia. Not to mention that Zapdos could also carry Hidden Power Ice. So obviously, that's potentially 4 Pokemon on their team that could knock out my Salamence in one turn. But I think the Intimidate is really, really important for Yveltal. And although Kangaskhan would be really good against the Weavile, I don't think it'd be super, super good against the Rayquaza. So let's see. How do I think this first turn's going to play out? I think in a majority of cases, they will probably just fake out Yveltal and go for a Draco Meteor. I don't really see a reason for them not to go for that play. But I'm fine with that. I got the Intimidate off. That's all I needed for this match with the Salamence. If they're like a Life Orb Weavile, they can potentially KO my Salamence right here. But I'm just going to go for Hyper Voice just to potentially break a Sash on both of these Pokemon. And then I will also go for a Snarl for the same reason. If for some reason they fake out my Salamence, then I get a Snarl off. It breaks a Sash on potential Sash on either Mon. This is mostly just a match where I can sack my front 2 Mons and then sweep a Trick Room. I've started noticing that's actually like it seems like a dumb idea. Lose 2 of your Pokemon, but in reality, all you need to do for the Trick Room setup is if your opponent's weak to it, then you can just go through and sweep with it. My opponent does fake out Salamence, so that's a little unfortunate. Salamence is going to flinch, however, I do get off the Snarl, and it does connect with both Mons. And it actually does decent damage on Rayquaza, so this isn't the same set that Enosh was running with the Assault Vest. But they do go for Draco Meteor. But, oh, it's into Yveltal, and it misses. That was a major misplay on my opponent's part. Wow. Okay. I did not expect that from my opponent. That was insane. Wow, and this is really, really big now because I can just freely go for a Hyper Voice, I think. And then a... Can I go for a second Snarl even? I think I can. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go for a Snarl just because... Oh, and they withdraw Rayquaza, too. I was going to say, just because if for whatever reason they don't go for, like... Let's say they don't double into Yveltal or something, then... Oh my gosh. And they missed the Icicle Crash on the Salamence too. I was going to say, for whatever reason, if they don't double into one of my Mons and get a knockout, then Snarl should pick up a double knockout. Or Hyper Voice plus Snarl. But nevertheless, this is still fine. It's really unfortunate that my opponent missed both of those attacks, though, because now they don't really have the best chance of winning. I mean, I think what I'm going to do here is just protect Salamence. There's no real reason not to in this situation, and I can just go for a Snarl again. So, yeah, that right there sort of just shows, like, why accuracy matters a lot, and why consistency is a really, really big thing, why it's really, really important. Okay, my opponent doesn't make the predictions, and I hit both Snarl, so... Wow. Okay, so this was obviously a very one-sided match. My lead, obviously Salamence paid off. The Intimidate would have meant that Yveltal pretty much doesn't die to Weavile. Like I was saying at the beginning of the battle, one of the very big things, like one of the things I really like about my team is Salamence and Yveltal just becomes such a powerful offensive lead, both because you have the double spread attacks, but also because you just have so much defensive, not investment, but you just drop your opponent's attack and their offensive stats. That's what I'm trying to get at. You drop their attack with Intimidate, you drop their special attack with Snarl. It just means that your Pokemon becomes so much more bulky, and even in situations where Zapdos, even when Salamence isn't the best lead, when your opponent has multiple ways to take out your Pokemon, you can still easily, super easily, you pull so much attention with Salamence. People will say, oh, I gotta go for Icicle Crash, or I have to go for a hard prediction against Salamence, and then, in reality, you can just sort of attack with Mence, because your whole point of bringing Mence was for Intimidate. And that's what I really like about my team. You can just play very conservatively with it. I think this is another situation where I'm just going to go for a Hyper Voice and a Snarl. I mean, if they Draco Meteor into Salamence, then it's not getting the KO on Yveltal at all. Yeah. And now I don't even think their Groudon can KO my Yveltal now. Maybe unless they can, like, I don't know, critical hit Fire Punch, just like last match. Then I should still be in a really, really great position right here. And Snarl should also KO the Rayquaza. Okay, and it connects with both, so... Wow, and Hyper Voice did a lot of damage. I didn't even realize. Both to the Rayquaza and the Groudon. And they just go for Eruption, so obviously the Snarl plus the amount of HP they have. They don't even do 20 damage. I think they actually did 21 damage, but it doesn't even matter at this point. Going for our usual practice for the best of 3. I'll reveal the Groudon, but I will literally just spam Protect and go for Snarl. This is, like I was saying, this is one of the things I really like about my team, is the fact that there's so many situations where you can just lead Salamence Yveltal and just spam all your spread attacks. And then let's say they have a Pokemon with Wide Guard, well, you can easily just switch up your mode. You can go for Double-Edged Dark Pulse, and that's so much damage that you get off against your opponent. But yeah, just the best of 3 practice. Go for the Snarl, go for the Protect. Let's say they're trying to scout information. Now you're saving yourself some of that just because you go for the Snarl instead of any other attack. Because now my opponent might think, well, okay, all they went for is Snarl. Are they like Choice Specs? Could they be Choice Scarf? Maybe they don't, like, maybe they're just one move Yveltal, but no, it's sort of smart to practice for best of 3. I really like how you can do that on Battle Spot. And that's going to be the episode, guys. Sort of sucks that both of those matches really came down to RNG. And also my opponent misplaying in the first match. I mean, I almost guarantee I probably would have won that first match right there just because, like, I was in such a good position even after both of the really important critical hits. And even after my opponent's misplay, I still had a good chance of winning because I believe the Precipice Blades would have knocked out their Kyogre, and had it not, then it would have been a roll, probably a lower roll in my opponent's favor that they would have gotten. So regardless, I still would have won the first match. In the second match, I'm really not too sure why they didn't just fake out and Draco into Salamence, but my Yveltal is Assault Vest. It would have been safer to go for Dragon Ascent, but obviously people don't know it's Assault Vest. Maybe they just think, okay, I'm intimidated, Draco Meteor does more damage. But that's going to be the episode, guys. Like I said, if you enjoyed the video, please go and like it if you enjoyed it. And if you want to keep up with all this amazing content, as well as some of the stuff that I have planned for future, please go and hit subscribe. I'm ModernGamer. And for the third time in a row, thanks for watching.